In a quiet village lived a wealthy man named Elias, but his riches were never evident in the way he dressed, only in the way he acted. He wore simple clothes, drove no fancy car, and mostly kept to himself. To the villagers, he was just the quiet stranger who walked the streets with a gentle smile. What they did, know, was that Elias had dedicated his entire life to helping others in complete silence. One cold morning, while passing through a busy street, he saw a beggar shivering on the sidewalk, his body frail from the biting wind. Without a moment's hesitation, Elias slipped a crisp $1,000 bill into the man's worn hands. He leaned in and said softly, "Buy food. Find warmth." And before the beggar could even process the kindness, before he could utter a single word of thanks, Elias was gone, melting back into the crowd. Another day, he was in a grocery store and witnessed an old woman at the counter, her hands trembling as she counted her coins. Her shoulders slumped when she realized she was short. Her face was a mask of quiet desperation. Elias immediately stepped forward and paid her entire bill. As she thanked him, her eyes filled with tears of relief. He secretly tucked another $1,000 into her shopping bag. He whispered, "This is for emergencies," then slipped away, leaving her in stunned gratitude. But these small acts were just the tip of the iceberg. These were just glimpses into the heart of a man whose generosity knew no bounds. With his vast fortune, Elias built a large modern shelter for the homeless, offering warm beds, hot meals, and a sense of hope to those who had lost everything. He built a sanctuary for dogs and cats, a sprawling, happy place that ensured abandoned animals would always have a safe and loving home. He created a beautiful home for the elderly, where seniors laughed, ate well, and were cared for with dignity and love. And he opened a bakery, a special one that gave free bread to anyone who was hungry, no questions asked, no judgment passed. He never posted his kindness online for likes or shares. He never told a single soul what he had built. He never sought praise, recognition, or a pat on the back. He helped because he wanted to purely, silently, and humbly. His reward was not in the applause of others, but in the quiet knowledge that he was making a difference. Then, one afternoon, everything changed. An arrogant man, just visiting the village, saw Elias walking down the street in his usual simple, worn clothes, instead of seeing a kind soul. The man's eyes filled with suspicion and contempt. "That man looks like trouble," he muttered to a few villagers nearby. Driven by a strange, baseless spite, he pointed a finger at Elias and publicly accused him of stealing $5 worth of bread from the bakery. The irony was staggering. He was accusing the owner of the very bakery that gave its bread away for free. But in a crowd, reason is often the first casualty. Some villagers, quick to judge, looked at Elias's old clothes and immediately believed the lie. "He must be poor," one whispered. "He probably doesn't have a job," another added. "He looks like a thief," a third declared. The whispers grew into a roar of condemnation. Seeing his lie take root, the arrogant man became bolder. He added more fuel to the fire, falsely claiming he saw Elias steal $100 from the town's donation box. The villagers didn't give Elias a chance to speak. They didn't ask for evidence. Their minds were made up, clouded by prejudice. They shouted at him, hurled insults, and some even threw stones in his direction. "You are not welcome here," they screamed. "Leave our village and never come back." With a heart heavy with a sorrow too deep for words, Elias silently turned away. He walked out of the village he had secretly nurtured for years, and he never returned. Days passed, then weeks. Slowly, a strange and unsettling quiet fell over the village. The people began to notice that things were different. The bakery, once a source of free, warm bread for the hungry, was no longer giving any away. Then the large, welcoming homeless shelter closed its doors, leaving dozens with nowhere to go. The animal sanctuary padlocked its gates, its joyful barks and meows silenced. The home for the elderly shut down, its residents forced to find new places to live, and the steady flow of donations that had supported so many local causes. It stopped overnight. Confusion and fear spread through the village like a sickness. What was happening? Why was everything falling apart? It was then, in the midst of this growing despair, that people began to come forward. The beggar, now well-fed and dressed in warm clothes, stepped out and told his story. "He saved me from starving," he announced to a crowd. "That man you drove away, he gave me $1,000. Then the old woman from the grocery store spoke up, her voice shaken with emotion. "He paid for all my groceries and blessed me with more. He was an angel." Soon, others followed. Former homeless men and women, the caretakers from the animal sanctuary, the staff and residents from the home for the elderly, all of them told their stories. Piece by piece, like a shattered mirror being reassembled, the truth unfolded. The man they had driven away, the man they had accused of stealing, the man they had judged so harshly by his clothes, was the same man who had been the secret guardian of their village all along. Realization struck them like a bolt of lightning. The shock was followed by a wave of crushing guilt. They had banished the very person who had kept their community alive and thriving. Elias never returned. Without his silent generosity, businesses that relied on the community's well-being grew weak. Hunger, once a distant memory, became a present reality. The once lively, compassionate village slowly turned into a quiet, deserted place, haunted by the ghost of its own mistake. The people regretted their actions with every fiber of their being, but it was too late. The damage was done. They learned a painful and unforgettable lesson. Never judge a person by their appearance, and never doubt the power of silent kindness. For some heroes don't wear capes or seek applause. They choose to help without expecting anything in return, and once they're gone, their absence becomes the greatest loss of all. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content that makes you think. Until next time.